Bearded Bros Golf Show. We're back again for another week. We're probably going to be taking Mother's Day week off. Just saying. I'm Rod.
I'm Marcus.
All right, and we're going to hit it this week. Tony Finau winning his sixth professional tournament in Mexico, outdueling Jon Rahm. They switched positions from last year with Rahm taking the title and Finau and Brandon Wu taking second last year. Tony traveling with the family again this week. Just wanted to kind of do also a breakdown of Jon Rahm's game after he took the course record on Saturday and really mounted a charge after
Yeah.
two not subpar rounds on Thursday, Friday, but just kind of hanging around the middle of the leaderboard. Also, LPGA still playing their tournament this week out in LA. Beautiful scenery both in Mexico and in LA. And I have a special place in my heart for both of those places. Places I've been blessed to be able to travel to and
Yeah.
amazingly beautiful. As well as we're going to continue our series of kind of a Reddit post and talking about working in a pro shop. So let's hit it. Tony Finau, what do you think about my guy taking his sixth professional tournament? Really looking good. He hadn't been playing a ton, but when he laces it up, I think this is his second win and like 18 starts, or maybe fourth win and 18 starts. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So fourth win and 18 starts. How you feeling about Tony right now? And then, yeah,
Tony's got a different hunger, man. And I mean, we can joke about it, but he's got kids to feed. And bro gonna keep grinding until they are good, bro. So I think it's really good. And I think that his game all came together and everything like that, and dripped out in the Nike gear, of course. Look at him. All 15 of his kids. You know what? Never mind.
So that's the extended family, but he's
Okay.
truly is a family guy. Like his immediate
Fact.
family is massive, but also the extended family is huge.
Definitely. I think Tony Finau definitely is going to thrive in weather like Mexico, right off the coast with the wind and everything like that. That's why Jon Rahm was contending as well. Guys that can fly it high, fly it low, turn it both ways. So I think that, all of that was on display. Plus, he brought the magic stick, pause, and he was really on point. I think it was a really commendable week, and I mean, it put everything on forefront of what Tony Finau is about as far as golf game goes.
Yep, played a clean final round. It's easy to get choked up with Jon Rahm chasing you down. There weren't a lot of other big stars in the mix. Final, 2 days here. There was like Gary Woodland was in there, but didn't
Yeah,
really
for a little bit.
contend. Brandon Wu clearly has an eye for this course. Getting in the top three the last 2 years out here. So, but
Yeah.
he still, was able to pull it out, extend his lead on the final day by a couple of strokes, and again, just play a clean round, get some birdies in there. Didn't really falter. Jon Rahm didn't really have a chance coming down the final few holes. He was down four with 4 holes to play. Ended up with a bogey, I believe, on 16 or 17, whatever the last par three is on the course. So,
Yeah.
but still doesn't take away from Jon Rahm and the incredible play that we've been seeing out of him this year. He is a monster, and just seeing his round of 61 on Saturday, it just really speaks to where his game is. And
Yeah.
a guy that I actually saw play last year at a Corn Ferry event, Michael Kim, who has game of his own, who's been up and down between the Corn Ferry and PGA Tour, won at the Greenbrier a few years ago or a handful of years ago before it got washed away. But he had a quote on Twitter about his experience playing with Jon Rahm. So here it is. He said, "My takeaways from playing with Rahm: it's cool to see literally the best in the world at his craft with his best stuff. Well worth the price of admission. He has zero problems drawing the ball. Those in the media, I'm assuming this means Brandel Chambly. Everybody's got a hard on for Brandel Chambly. That says he can't or struggles with or with it are flat out wrong." So there's a couple more underneath this, but what do you think about these first couple of observations from Michael Kim?
Um, you know, don't have the best opinions upon BC, so glad he was able to prove him wrong. And absolutely, every time Jon Rahm tees it up, I'm looking to see everything he does because the the swing itself is already majestic. How he manages to manufacture that much power in like what you would call a half swing for most of us is just ridiculous. So for him to be able to flight it, play it high, play the fade, play the draw, and still have a flat stick with it, I mean, he ain't lying.
Yeah.
None of that is false.
Right, and I agree. I mean, you can't win consistently on the PGA Tour without being able to, move the ball in both directions. And so, again, I've been really thinking about doing a kind of a semi-scientific breakdown of Brandel Chambly's opinions. There's things that I agree with him on. There's things that I absolutely do not agree with him on, especially back in the day
Hmm.
when he was going at Tiger, when Tiger was dead smack in the middle of his prime, and he was going at Tiger like, "What are you talking about, bro?" But
Definitely.
this leaderboard was the battle of the short backswings between Tony Finau and Jon Rahm. You might be able to get a full backswing if you added them both together, but they're both able to generate so much power between the two of
Facts.
them. So let's scroll forward a little bit on this and get to the next thoughts. So Michael Kim also says he hits putts exactly how he envisions every time, which is actually very hard to do for all 18 holes, which I think speaks to his focus on the course. I was able to keep up with him with my drives much better than I thought. Overall, a great day. Again, I watched Michael Kim play about 9 holes on a Corn Ferry Tour event and was very impressed with his game. He's a smallish guy, but he can still hit the ball. Yes, Rom. I think today he took one drive over us, kind of a washout or one of those washed out areas that they had, and it was 311 to carry it, and he took on that line like he took the tiger line on that one. So yes, he has some unique power, but I think he has the ability to ratchet it down, get in the fairway. Last year they were really talking about
Definitely.
Rahm's being the most accurate driver in the game. So I think there's a lot to that. What do you think about these last couple of sentiments, particularly the putting, or just both of them? Let me hear what you got to say on both of those thoughts.
Yeah, so I think the driving thing is kind of, I mean, probably relative, depending on just like what we said. Like I feel like he has a fairway shot, and then a like I'm gonna go get it and really give it the full treatment. And then of course with putting, I mean, you saw it with the Masters. I mean, the guy is just a when he gets the flat stick going, it's pretty unreal how he does it. And when you're that when I feel like you're that sturdy with your stance and your posture and your setup and everything and your routine, it's hard not to, consecutively make good putts, good runs at the holes. And then, of course, last but not least, all you're looking for to do on the green, anyways, is just roll it over one spot. And if you roll it over your spot, you can call that an accomplishment in the putt itself. So, I mean, you can read that as elementary or as, complicated as you would like, but I definitely agree wholehearted. And Jon Rahm seems to be like he's a nice guy to just even talk to throughout the round, even in competitive situations. So I don't feel like it's any
Right.
animosity when they play. Even when they're playing they're the best golf that they can play, I still feel like he's the homie. So I definitely think that's dope about him.
Yeah, that was interesting to see him interacting with players. I didn't know him and Tony Finau were that close and traveled together. So it was interesting tidbits to hear about those two this week, as well as seeing him interact with Akshay Bhatia, this final round and just really kind of be
Definitely.
lighthearted when you think about how intense you have to be to win at that high level. But for him to still be able to have some
Hmm.
camaraderie with his fellow players is super cool and probably lends to him just kind of hopefully, getting up there near the pip and just kind of continuing to gain popularity. When you're winning
Definitely.
that often, you can find the haters coming out of the woodwork. But him being an overall, seems like he's a good family man, interacts with players that, it just bodes well for his future and his ability to have longevity on the tour, just kind of on and off with fans as well. I've even
Definitely.
seen Rom lightening up on these interviews. It was probably late last year. It felt like he was super intense and would get kind of aggravated with these interviews after. And I don't know if,
Yeah.
I haven't seen that this year, but I don't know if someone talked to him and said, hey, man, when it comes to the post, round interviews, you might want to lighten it up a little bit. you're coming off a little bit harsh. Because I was like, damn, he would answer people, with these quick kind of snarky answers. But
Yeah.
either way, like I said, dude's winning, but never at that Eldrick, like rate. That's the
Nobody
rate
ever
that
be
him
that
and
prolific
Scheffler
again.
never. It's just too
Never.
hard. I mean, even though he's been super consistent, it's just hard to win on the level that Tiger 2000 Tiger was just a ridiculous beast
Yeah.
of a golfer. So yeah.
Yeah. Not
So
replicate that.
Rahm, LPGA, it looks like we're gonna either have a second time winner with Cheyenne Knight kind of near the top of the leaderboard when we first started today, and kind of it's switching. So we'll see how that ends up landing before we get out of here. So next
Yeah.
week we have the Wells Fargo. Rory is officially in. He's already missed 2 designated events, the RBC Heritage and the Tournament of Champions to start this year. So he's already lost on $3 million from his player impact, bonus. So that's gone. I don't think
Hmm.
I'm sure they would continue to claw back more money if he was missing more events. However, we have Scheffler and Rahm that are already out. This will be their first event to miss in the designated events. I've always loved the Wells Fargo. It's, the course is very memorable. Number 18 coming up there, that drive on 18 is
Right.
always seems to be, in play. And, that little creek that runs down the side of the fairway there seems to be an issue. And then kind of getting it close on your approach there. So, iconic course. I've loved the Wells Fargo even before the days of designated events. What are your thoughts on this coming
Agreed.
tournament? You mentioned before we hopped on about Tony Finau was supposed to be in the field. We'll see if that still holds and if he'll make the trip from Mexico to North Carolina this week. But what are your thoughts on the Wells Fargo?
Um, Love the setup of Quail Hollow. Always have. Is just like the same as you. Seen a lot of iconic winning. I mean, Rory's won there 3 times. Ricky Fowler's won out there finally. So I think a lot of like fun guys win it. I mean, anybody can win it out there. So it's not like, you got to be a big hitter or you got to be able to dot your I's and cross the T's and stuff like that. Feels like, an eclectic winner can win out there. And that's always fun in itself. And just like you said, I mean, shoot, Rory crossed over the hazard and had to play out almost straight right and still won it with like a bogey one year. So I think that 18th fairway is always a fun place to end it. And then of course, it being like still like a 440, 450-yard par four, you still got to hit a nice little iron shot in there too. So I always like the Wells
Mhm.
Fargo. They made it a heightened event, so always going to put a little bit more pressure on them. And I mean, I have no complaints. And just like we were talking about pre show, the run of good tournaments in a row, the it's just insane at this moment. And you just gotta take it with a. You just gotta just all. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. I'm just so excited and giddy about the next few weeks. There's just so much good golf about to be coming on.
Yeah, we really have to be appreciative. We have, the Wells Fargo. This week again, just the big names were there, so
Yeah,
it commanded TV coverage. Wells Fargo, Byron Nelson, and Dallas, which always attracts some decent players to it, even though it's before a major. We'll have the PGA Championship after that. I hate that they moved, where the Byron Nelson was played. They had a quirky course where they played it in before, but players came out to
Trinity.
that course. No, before the Trinity.
I'm
Um,
talking about Las
I'm
Colinas, I guess.
yeah, Las Colinas Country Club, I believe it
Yeah.
was. But
Hmm.
no, that's where the LPGA plays. But either way,
Oh, okay.
there was a good the course brought people out. I think the weather gets players out. Now that it's the week before the PGA Championship, you're probably going to have some folks at least playing it as a warm up tournament.
Yeah.
The current venue is super high scoring. The following week after the PGA is no slouch. We have the Charles Schwab at the Colonial and then the Memorial. So, I mean, we're going to have 5 straight weeks of just really quality golf that you can tune into, with some schedule shifting going around in the last couple of years. But yeah,
Yeah.
5 straight weeks that you're just going to want to tune into. And then we go up to Canada. So yeah, we just really need to count our blessings and be appreciative of the schedule that golf has
Absolutely,
provided.
bro.
And if we continue going this way, the PGA does not have anything to worry about. Super shout out, no shade. Out over on Live, they played 2 weeks in a row. We had a discussion about this,
Yeah.
um, a couple weeks ago with one of their younger players saying that they would love to. I think it was Jed Morgan would love to play more consecutive weeks, more meaningful golf. They take this week off, and then they're up to Tulsa, which I'm trying to figure out how I can get myself up to Tulsa the weekend of Mother's
Oh, that's
Day
right.
weekend. Yeah. So I might try to sneak up there on Friday, see around the first round of coverage there. But they played in Singapore, another overseas, venture. Right after being in Australia, they had some really good crowds. It seemed like, but that's
Hmm.
probably part of their global reach. And these places not necessarily seeing golf all the time. So kind of as we talked about here,
Definitely.
you have to be appreciative for what comes your way. So it looks like these venues outside of the U.S. are really appreciative of some version of high level pro golf. And Talor Gooch won for two weeks in a row. So in the last 2 weeks, he
Okay.
has netted or grossed $8 million off of the Live Tour. So shout
That's
out
a
to
win.
him.
Yeah.
It's a win for
No,
him.
no world,
I think there was. Go ahead.
no world golf ranking points, but 8 milli. Yeah.
Hey, 8 million in the bank account.
8 million in the bank.
Apparently, I didn't really get a chance to catch up on this article about him being in the U.S. Open, not being in the U.S. Open due to some changes in the qualification standards. He will be
Hmm.
in the PGA Championship. Talor Gooch will be. So we'll see how he performs when he gets back to the big stage and he's playing with the big boys again and not,
Yep.
beating Sergio Garcia on the weekend. So
Right.
moving on from there, again, just thankful for our tournaments and being hot. So just a quick update on the LPGA. We had a R Yen that was two ahead of the field at 10 under, has fallen back to 8 under, and we have Cheyenne Knight and a shock tied at 9 under going into 14 or 15 and 16. So maybe we will see the conclusion of this. A couple weeks or last week, we mentioned or talked about working in the golf industry, things that happen in the clubhouse. And you gave a really good rundown and kind of compared with this list that I found on Reddit. So
Yeah.
you kind of see 4 and 5 talking about unicorn days and getting to play. Number 5, people that come in way late and walk 9 holes. So let's pick up at number 6.
Okay.
I have a lot of people that don't show up for their tee time, but 90% call a couple days ahead to cancel. Good on you guys. So what is you guys no show rate? And I know y'all have made some changes at your current course to
Yeah.
combat no shows. So, what are your thoughts on this particular aspect?
So when it comes to no call, no shows, like I feel like we've really kind of, I would say, really limited who's gonna come and play at our course again. Because
Mm,
when people have to, even things like having to get emails and like credit card information just to hold on file with your profile to secure the tea time, it has really deterred a lot of people that you didn't, what you would really wouldn't want at your course anyways. So it's honestly been refreshing. The people that we have locked in still continue to come. We still have a very cemented group that comes every morning, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, same names. They have no problems with the rate increases because, again, these are the same people that are lobbying for better conditions, anyways. So these are the people you would like. Oh, I don't
yeah,
mind paying a little bit extra because it's going to increase the golf experience that I'm having, especially when I'm off first. I get fresh greens. I get, manicured fairways and stuff like that. The fairway bunkers, the green side bunkers all have sand. They're all manicured as well, weed eated. They're not, junky and stuff like that. Those are the things that you want. So with the new policy, I feel like we're getting more of those guys that appreciate the actual price that they're paying and the product that they're getting for the paying that they're getting. And of course, when we have, the beverage cart grills and then we have clubhouse grill, drinks flowing and stuff like that. Again, just a crowd you would like that's not afraid to spend money on a good situation or a good experience. So I feel like I
Yeah.
agree with that. And we've had a lot more, hey, I can't make it, or it's actually going to be this amount. So, take it down. So if you want to pair us up with another twosome or a solo or something, that's fine. Like, how like refreshing is that? Like, it's
Yeah.
so easy to deal with customers like that. There's not a lot of riffraff when they come in. They automatically understand what's going on. All you got to do is go through your rundown of which course they're playing and send them on their way the right way. And it's been a good day. It's already been a better experience. So I definitely think it's been very good.
What would you say the difference or percentage, if you could guesstimate, no shows or no shows
Hmm.
prior to, or let's say a partial group showing up, where they reserve for four and only two show up. What was that percentage before putting cards on file and taking down contact information?
I would say it was a good, not I wouldn't say it was an exorbitant amount, but it was still enough to like kind of like hurt your bottom line. Because if you're taking up a tea time spot that's worth $99 on the weekend, and then all of a sudden no call, no show for four people, that's $400 just down the drain. I
Yeah,
would say we probably had maybe like 20, 25%, which is like not bad, but that's not good. But
it's
that's
yeah. No,
compared
no, I
to
mean,
like,
probably
that's a lot of
what? Do you
money
think
when
you
you
get
add it
over
up.
90? Do you get over 90% now of people communicating, or just
Easily.
kind
I
of?
mean, I think it's more like when we look on the T sheet now, it's kind of hard to find like you didn't show up, you didn't show up. We're seeing a lot of green, a lot of checked in, a lot of money paid, like with the system that we use. So I would say
Mhm.
it's gone from a percentage of about a quarter or maybe like 20% or like a fifth of it to maybe 5 to 10%. I would easily say we're in the 95 percentile type deal. And then when the no call
That's
no
cool.
shows happen in the twilights, in the super twilight hours when the money was already discounted anyways, we're not as hurt. We're not as kind of like feeling some type of way about that. So again,
Yeah,
the it's just creating, curating who you want to, come into your course anyway. So I feel like it's been really good overall.
cool, cool, cool. And y'all are charging for those morning tea times where people no call no show. Are y'all hitting the cards?
Yeah, we're doing 50% of the tea time. So for instance, call no show for a foursome, we're charging you for two of that, two of those tea times instead of all four. So,
That makes
you
sense.
coming out, that's $200 out of the four. So you're getting off easy and we're still not losing that much money. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think it's been relatively very, very good. And people understand now. So they're either making the call or they're not afraid to take that L or they have it. So it's been okay.
yeah. Cool. Number 7 on this list was I had no clue that junior tournaments were so serious. I got calls on the shop from people stuck on the Canada border. So I guess this course is up north. So they wouldn't make their practice round. People drove hundreds of miles for their kids to play in sideways rain for 2 days. Met this kid who I think was 9 or 10. It was his first tournament. I had like a 10-minute conversation with him both days after his round. He was so excited. Definitely my favorite moment for my first month. I think just a quick point from me, and I hear parents, that I work with that have kids that are in highly competitive sports or just kind of
Yeah.
whether it be travel baseball, travel basketball, this kind of obsession over youth sports and specializing seems to be a huge deal these days. And parents get just as excited as the kids, maybe sometimes to the detriment of the kids' excitement in the game itself. But do you guys, I know y'all have a couple of tournament seasons, which you talked about last week, and we don't want to kill that, but do y'all host junior tournaments?
We do from time to time. We do. We've had I wouldn't say like prominent events, but like as far as like for Southern Texas, like we have the STPGA come out, we have the AJPGA come out, and then we have the Nota Begay come out. So like we've had some pretty, I would say some pretty high priority tournaments come out, and it is very competitive and it is very serious. Some of these players are coming in from Canada to Texas or from
Wow.
Seattle or from California, traveling quite a bit, not always driving, not always just, and so like the situation when it comes to like when we can get people out for practice rounds and stuff like that, and how much does the cost for that compared to what they've already paid, it's a little bit different. And it's you're trying to appease everybody but also stay at your course guidelines and what the organization running the tournament has asked you to do as far as like spectator cards and as far as fees go, because like for a while I feel like most of the junior tournaments we do, the program that's running the tournament sets the rates for these practice rates. We don't have a say in it, and we don't have a
Mm.
say in if they get spectator carts or not. So they'll come in, and it's just like a PGA qualifier or a PGA event. They'll have threesomes going off 1 and 10. They'll have two flights. They'll have morning tee times. Then they'll come in have afternoon tee times. So the course will be closed for all day for the junior events. And these are anywhere from, pretty much 11-year-olds to seniors in high school that are looking for competitive collegiate golf or just getting started in competitive golf. So I feel like we've had every stretch of it. And then I feel like it's definitely been spot on what he's saying about how competitive and how serious it is. And, there is a few times where you'll have some kids come in that are local and they're like, hey, like I've never been out here, but they have this junior event coming out. I wanted to get a practice round. So kind of get to know the kids that are local and where they're coming from and how they play. And, it's fun. It's definitely fun seeing, just like when you see new golfers, to me, it's the
Mhm.
excitement and, the determination and stuff that they have again. I think that's super refreshing. So it's definitely cool
It is.
and it's definitely super competitive.
Awesome. And I'm assuming these, organizations pay to reserve the course for however many
Absolutely.
days, right? So it's just a flat rate, and
Definitely.
then they negotiate rates after that or
Hmm.
rules after that. Okay. So let's see here. Let's move this forward a little bit to number 8. Had some customers call in with really weird questions about the course and then hang up. If you have a question that won't impact whether or not you are playing there, i.e., what will the pin placement be the next Friday? I thought that was super weird. Try not to call during busy hours. If I do have the answer, I will. If I do have the answer, I will have to go find it. Right? I'm assuming these men don't when I need to be getting everybody out to their tea time. So he wants to prioritize. Those are directly in front of him versus having to deal with some strange questions on the phone. So outside of are y'all aerating? Are y'all top dressing? Are y'all cart path only? Can you think of the strangest question that someone has ever called and asked you on the phone about the course that was not one of those standard ones? Or is that usually it?
Um, for us, we're pretty lucky. We get the randoms, the that's pretty much it. We get I mean, I feel like I have been asked a time or two if the fairways and rough got punched before, which is really specific,
Yeah.
super
I'm
specific.
seeing that a lot. I'm seeing that a lot more this year or the last couple of seasons, and maybe that's just due to some of the weird weather patterns. But I've seen,
Yeah.
um, some fairway work more recently than I have in the last 10 years playing.
Yeah, so I feel like that's about as weird as it gets. And I feel like the pin placement question is weird in itself for us because once you've played our course, you understand why there is no such thing as like a pin placement sheet. I think we need to get
Hmm.
back to, and I've harped on this to, whoever will listen to at my club, but I think we need to get back to front, middle, back flags. But, sometimes our flags, some of our greens are a little bit just horizontal moving, some are
Right.
diagonal. So, it's just, feel like we have a lot of green complexes that it really just wouldn't make sense to have that as much as I would like it. So pin locations even more so like just obsolete where we
Yeah.
are. So
I've found that the pin sheets to be not necessarily useful. I mean, I'm typically using a shooter. I
Right. Just
don't
get a
know.
rangefinder. It kills
I mean,
me.
I like knowing the shape of the green if I've never played there before. So having some
True.
diagram of what the green shape is useful, but kind of knowing what tier, because you don't know if there's a fall off. Or, it's not like as accurate as having like a greens book. So yeah, I think that was a weird question, but I don't even know. Even he's talking about not even calling during the prime times, which I agree. Calling a course first thing in the morning on a weekend can seem like it's dicey. I mean, weekends in general are probably not the best time for casual, conversation on the phone with a
Agreed.
golf course. I mean, save that for the week. I mean, unless you're calling to make a tee time, which I get it, that requires some courses are still requiring calls outside of online services. I ran
Yeah.
into that this weekend, but yeah, that's just weird, and I get that one. That's pretty standard. That's just goes back to kind of common courtesy and treating your fellow
Hmm.
humans with respect. So let's move on to this next one. Said I had a group call for food at the turn. When thought there was no crap. Sorry, moving forward. Pause. All right. Had this group call for food at the turn when I thought there was no one left on the front nine. They waited out in the rain by the third tee box instead of heading inside the clubhouse. And unfortunately, our kitchen staff had already went home. All registers were closed, so I couldn't sell them any beer. We told them to grab some snacks. They gave me $5, and I made them some Arnold Palmer's. We'll do anything within our power to help you guys on the course as long as you treat us with respect. That kind of doubles down on what we were talking about just a second ago. That just
Yeah.
common courtesy should extend to the golf course.
Agreed.
What is your experience with that? And just kind of, you know, I know you said it's your course. There's your members are a little bit spoiled, and you have some people that are, entitled to feel like they're entitled to certain things. You have
Yeah.
ever had a weird scenario like this where pretty much the course was shut down, but you want to take care of some folks that were still left on the course?
Uh, I actually we've been pretty lucky about that. Again, you've been there, you've seen our situation, so we have it's separate, so we don't really have to deal with a lot of that. And the girls during the summer, and the guys and whoever may be over there, they definitely tend to stay open elongated hours, try to acquiesce for things like that. Have the beverage cart girls out there till 6, always making sure people are notified. I think that's the biggest thing that we always make sure to do and emphasize is if you need anything other than water, Gatorade, or soda, step across to the clubhouse and grill. They have all the adult drinks you may need, all the energy drinks you may need, all the mixed drinks you may need. They have all that over there. But if you need something quick, we got you. If you want any snacks, that's the bar and the grill. We don't have any snacks on our side. So we make it very clear and cut what you're here for on our side because it's just a pro shop. Like we don't, and if our pro shop is open, then the registers are open. Typically, we keep our registers open a little bit longer, depending upon if anybody wanted to come through after the round. It being we being in a touristy city and having visitors on the weekend, of course. So I think we don't really have that situation a lot. And again, I feel like we try to, nip that in the bud in the forefront and make sure everybody knows, like, hey, just because of the T sheet the way it is, we don't know if you'll be able to see the Bev card as frequently as you would like. Load up beforehand, or hey, you have a later tea time. I would suggest you grab drinks before because we don't know how long the beverage cart girl is going to be out any longer, or we don't know how long the grilling bar is going to be open. And of course, as long as they're open, there's always some type of warm or cold, like cold sandwiches or like ready to go tacos or hot dogs or something like that. So even if our full bar and grill isn't open, we still have snacks and things to get you out. So again, I feel like we do the work first to, pretty much stop all that. And we haven't had any, and when I've been working, we haven't had any weird situations like that.
Yeah. And edit number 10, he added this one in after the fact. Started watching a lot of LPGA golf in the pro shop. I really enjoyed it. Now I tune in every week or at least try to catch the last round. So as we've mentioned, we're watching the LPGA trying to wind down the back nine of this Wilshire Country Club must is beating these gals down. We've had four, five. There's five golfers tied at 8 under. So people have
Lord.
gotten up and then come back down. Um, they're winding down to the final two holes. The one of the leaders, Hannah Green, is on 17. So tight one here coming down. So LPGA, we have been fans of LPGA for quite some time. This is not new to us. Um, I think it's one of the more technically sound, you know, types of golf that you can see.
Definitely.
Most of the averages, despite what people on the internet say about how far they hit their driver and, their irons, the LPGA is probably more comparable to most average golfers. And these women could probably beat you, no matter how good you think you are, beat the mess out of you with how good
Easily.
they are. So, LPGA. What are your thoughts on it as a product? What could we talked about this last week, and
Yeah.
them getting a higher profile and more coverage, which I think they really are trying to do. I think playing opposite, times, out in California, they've been on right after the coverage this weekend in Mexico.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the LPGA overall?
Overall, I think that with the new talent and of course the game getting younger and younger and stars like Nelly Corda, and then of course you look at Lydia Ko, who's been around for almost 10 years now and she's still only 25. It's just insane. So I think when it comes to like amateur golf and fans of golf, I think LPGA really should be getting more attention because it is absolutely more similar and in the same diagram as amateur golf. Now, you're not going to be hitting your 6 iron 210, but like these LPGA players, you're going to be hitting your 6 iron 160 with a little bit of rollout because you don't have the speed to control the spin. So, there's a few single handicaps, but that might be hitting at 175 or something like that. But
Yeah,
I think this game is so much more comparable to what we do that it needs to get more respect and more attention, like we always talk about. Because when you're hitting 75% of your fairways and 70% of your greens in regulation, why would you not want to watch that? I'd be trying to look at every single thing that they do that. And then you
yeah.
figure out the rest after that.
Especially since golf is such a technical game, and from the fundamentals of things, they are just really on it. And I get it. I get the argument from other sports. Let's just say compare the NBA to the WNBA. The
Yeah.
athleticism is very different between the two. But I think with golf, I'd even say tennis, right? Is you can have some parallels
Yeah.
and things that you can look at the ladies and just be just as entertained if you are into the sport and love the details and minutia that come with golf. LPGA to me is just as enjoyable as watching PGA Tour golf, and unfortunately, they
Definitely.
just haven't had the same coverage to watch them. Sometimes it's late at night,
Yeah.
it's tape delayed, or they're playing overseas, which we always talk about that we're up late. So a tournament over in Asia where it's on at 11, 1 o'clock
That's
in the
prime time
morning,
for us.
totally fine, right? I'm up. I'm watching it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're huge fans of the LPGA. I'd love to talk about it more. Love to see these new group of stars come through. Kind of got tired of seeing your Christy Kerrs of the world.
Definitely.
Just those old school names that would, be on every week of the leaderboard, but it wasn't very impressive anymore. So very, very excited about this new, crop of talent, both on the PGA and LPGA tour. The golf community is in good hands for a long time.
Definitely.
So I know you're trying to go out and get some range time in where we've hit our subjects. Any final topic that you want to touch on before we hang up?
Um Milwaukee's a fluke, and Steph Curry deserves all the flowers he gets.
No doubt. I had somebody I was playing with this weekend that was didn't like Steph Curry's, attitude, and I get that. He's not everybody's flavor, but
Right.
you can't doubt the talent and the ability. And yeah, shout out
Just
to
look at the
Giannis.
report card.
Uh, yep, yep. The results show you don't end up winning 4 championships on accident. So, shout out to Giannis really stepping up, and it's kind of like Akshay Bhatia said this week. I may not win, but I'm going to learn. So
Yep,
I think
definitely.
that's a life lesson that we can all pull from. So, Bearder Bros Golf Show, another week in the books. We are going to take Mother's Day weekend off, celebrate the wives and mothers in our lives, and we'll catch you in a
Absolutely.
couple weeks. No, I am lying, my guy. We're next week is not Mother's Day.
Yeah, we're fine
Bad
next
sign
week.
off. We're fine next week. It is 2 weeks out, so just a heads up on that. Horrible. These weeks are just running together, but we'll catch you next week. Peace. Bad sign off.